Welcome. Before the world falls asleep, let's hear a story that speaks to the heart. Just maybe this one will stay with you. Listen till the end. It looked like any other dusty guitar hanging in the back corner of the thrift shop. Worn wood, faded strings, a crack in the lacquered body. But something about it stopped Leo mid-step. He reached out and strummed. The sound was imperfect, slightly hollow, but warm, like a voice with a story to tell. Leo had just started learning guitar. His parents couldn't afford anything fancy, so this $25 relic seemed like a sign. Back home, he tuned it as best he could, gently wiped off years of dust, and ran his fingers across the strings. It buzzed, yes, but it sang too. When he tilted the guitar to inspect the inside, he noticed something strange. A piece of paper stuck deep inside the sound hole. After some careful maneuvering with tweezers and a flashlight, he pulled it out. It was a handwritten note, yellowed slightly with age. "If you're reading this, you're holding my dream. My name is Melody. Yes, really, I'm 14. This guitar helped me through the hardest years of my life. I wrote songs when I had no one to talk to. I always hoped someone would keep playing, so I'm leaving a piece of my dream behind. A melody I wrote myself. Maybe someday someone will hear it." Below the words were 6 hand-drawn lines with dots, chords, lyrics, and humming rhythms. It wasn't a full song, but it felt like the beginning of something beautiful. Leo read the note again, and again. He'd never written a song before, but that night, he sat on his bed and started learning her chords, slowly plucking through the ones she'd marked. And then he added his own. One line, one verse, one late night after another. Weeks passed. The guitar still buzzed, and the body still creaked, but Leo played it like it was gold. Every strum felt like a conversation with someone he'd never met, someone who once believed music could save her. Eventually, the melody became a full song, haunting and hopeful, simple and raw. He named it "The Dream Left Behind." One Saturday, a local open mic night was held in the park. Leo was terrified, but he signed up anyway. When he walked on stage with his battered guitar, people smiled politely. He introduced the song, just as Melody had, not with perfection, but with honesty. "This was started by someone I never met. I just finished it," he played. The wind was soft, the world quieted, and the song, her song, finally bloomed. In the crowd, a woman in her 30s froze. Her eyes widened. Tears welled up. After the performance, she approached Leo gently. "Where did you get that guitar?" Leo blinked. "Thrift store, a month ago." Her voice trembled. "My name is Melody, and I think that's mine," she explained. She'd sold it long ago when her family moved, but she'd always regretted it. She thought her note would be lost forever. "I wrote that melody the summer after my dad left," she said. "It was the only thing that helped." Leo stared at her. "Your chords, they became a full song. I just helped finish it." Melody smiled through tears. "No, you didn't finish it. You gave it a voice." They sat on a nearby bench, passing the guitar back and forth. She remembered old verses. He taught her his additions. And together, they sang the whole thing. Not perfectly, but with heart. The next week, they recorded the song and uploaded it online. It was raw and simple. Just guitar, voice, and silence between the lines. They didn't expect much, but the video spread fast. People commented things like, "This healed something in me I didn't know needed healing." "You can feel every word." Leo and Melody kept playing together after that. Sometimes in parks, sometimes for free, always with that same guitar. It still buzzed, still cracked, but oh, how it sang. Because some songs don't need to be perfect, they just need to be heard.
2.
2 years apart, and from the moment Lily learned to speak, the arguing began. It wasn't just about toys or clothes, they fought over everything. Who got the last cookie? Who sat in the front seat? Who Mom loved more? Their parents used to joke that they were like fire and ice, destined to clash, impossible to mix. At school, teachers would raise their eyebrows when they saw the two girls' last names. "Are you two sisters?" they'd ask. Emma would roll her eyes, and Lily would groan. Unfortunately, one of them would mutter. But underneath all the shouting, slammed doors, and silent treatments, there was something else. A strange kind of loyalty neither of them understood at the time. One winter morning, when Emma was 12 and Lily was 10, a classmate made fun of Lily's worn-out shoes. Emma, who'd just been calling her sister a spoiled brat that morning, stood up without hesitation and told the boy to shut his mouth. No one messed with Lily, except Emma. Still, their teenage years were no easier. They barely spoke in high school. Emma was into books and quiet afternoons. Lily preferred loud music and late-night hangouts. They lived in the same house, shared the same parents, but moved through life like strangers. And then, college happened. Emma moved to a different state. Lily stayed behind. For the first time, they weren't forced to see each other every day, and that distance became something they both secretly needed. Years passed. They both grew up, made mistakes, worked hard. Emma became a writer, Lily a nurse. Life had softened their edges. The world had taught them things no argument ever could. It wasn't until their dad fell ill that everything shifted. Emma flew home first, sitting quietly in the hospital room, unsure what to say or do. 2 days later, Lily walked in with a bag of takeout and tired eyes. For a moment, they just stared at each other. No insults, no sarcasm. Just two daughters who loved the same man and didn't know how to say it out loud. "I brought you food," Lily said. Emma nodded, eyes misting. That was the first real conversation they'd had in years. Over the next weeks, as they took turns caring for their dad, something unexpected began to happen. They laughed at the same jokes. They cried over the same memories. They started texting each other without a reason. When their dad passed away quietly one morning, they held hands in silence. It was a moment both heartbreaking and healing. From that day on, they were never far apart, not just in miles, but in heart. Now in their 30s, Emma and Lily talk every day. They take trips together, help each other through breakups and birthdays, and still argue, just less often and with more love. They say that sisters are built in, but perhaps that's why it means so much more. Moral of the story: sometimes the strongest bonds are forged not through peace, but through storms that teach us how to hold on tighter.
3.
It was supposed to be just another trip to the thrift store. Old furniture, dusty books, forgotten things. Nothing special. But then, Daniel saw it. Half buried under a pile of broken toys was a small, worn-out teddy bear. Its fur was matted, one button eye was missing, and its red ribbon hung by a thread. It looked familiar. Too familiar. He picked it up carefully. The stuffing was lumpy, and its left ear was nearly detached. But when Daniel turned it over, his breath caught. 3 tiny stitched letters on the paw. D-A-N. His initials. His heart pounded. Daniel hadn't thought about the bear in years. Not since the orphanage, not since he was 6. Back then, the bear had been everything. It was the only toy he owned, a gift from a kind woman he barely remembered. The staff said her name was Margaret, a volunteer who came once a month and always brought one handmade toy. She had handed him the bear herself. "He's soft and strong," she'd said, smiling, "just like you." Then she leaned in and whispered, "Whenever you need me, just squeeze his belly and listen closely." He'd done it dozens of times, and every time, a small recording inside said, "Hi, sweetheart, you're not alone. You are loved, always." Those words had been the only warmth on cold nights. But one day, the bear disappeared. Maybe another kid took it. Maybe it got thrown out. Maybe life just moved on. Daniel did too. Foster homes, part-time jobs, growing up fast. Now, in his 30s, with a job and an apartment of his own, Daniel stood in the middle of a dusty thrift store, holding a bear that once told him he was loved. His hands trembled as he pressed the bear's middle. Static, a faint crackle, then, "Hi, sweetheart, you're not alone, you are loved, always." Daniel dropped to the floor. Right there, between a broken rocking horse and a bin of tangled dolls, tears streamed down his face. He bought the bear for $2.50 and took it home like it was gold. For hours, he sat in silence, holding it, pressing the button again and again, just to hear that soft, motherly voice. The next day, he opened the back seam. Inside was a tiny, old recorder taped to the stuffing, and beneath it, a note. Folded tightly, yellowed with time, it read, "If this bear ever finds its way back to you, I hope you've grown into someone kind. You were always my favorite. Love, Margaret." Daniel didn't sleep that night. He couldn't stop thinking, who was she? Was she still alive? Did she leave notes for other kids too? The next week, he drove 2 hours to the town where the orphanage used to be. It was closed now, turned into a library, but one of the older librarians remembered Margaret. "Sweet woman," she said, "didn't have kids of her own." "I brought someone," he said softly, pulling the bear from a cloth bag. Her eyes widened. She touched the bear's paw gently, as if touching a memory. "You kept it all these years?" she asked. "No," he whispered, "but somehow it came back." She laughed, then cried. And then they talked for hours about books, life, kindness, and all the things that never leave us. Daniel visited her every Sunday after that. Sometimes they sat in silence. Other times she'd read aloud. He brought tea, she brought peace. And the bear, the one who whispered love when the world forgot, always sat quietly between them. Because sometimes the smallest voice from childhood becomes the loudest reminder that we mattered.
4.
Every morning, the school bus pulled up at 7. And every morning, the driver greeted Emily with the same exact words. "Hey, sunshine. Ready to make the world better today?" She always smiled politely, mumbled, "Good morning," and walked to her seat in the middle of the bus. She was 12, polite, quiet, a little too serious for her age. Other kids were louder, laughing, tapping on phones, throwing paper balls. Emily just stared out the window. She didn't know the driver's name, just that he wore the same faded navy jacket, always had a coffee in hand, and drove gently, even over potholes. Those words, "ready to make the world better today," they felt familiar, too familiar, like something from a dream you can't quite name. 2 years earlier, Emily's mom had passed away. It was sudden, it was brutal, and Emily had stopped listening to a lot of things after that. She remembered flashes, her mother braiding her hair in the kitchen, humming off-key, her laugh echoing in the hallway, the smell of cinnamon tea. But mostly, she remembered a voice, soft, certain, full of love, whispering something just before she left for school each day. "Go make the world better today, my sunshine." After the funeral, those words vanished into silence, until the bus driver said them. Not once, not randomly, every single morning. For a long time, Emily thought it was a coincidence, a phrase some people just say. But it was the exact same words, same tone, same warmth. And it felt intentional. She wanted to ask so many times, but the words would get stuck in her throat, tangled with grief and fear and hope. One rainy Thursday, everything changed. Emily had a rough morning. She'd forgotten her homework, argued with her dad, and left her lunch on the counter. She stepped onto the bus with wet shoes, shoulders hunched, blinking back tears. "Hey, sunshine," the driver said softly, "ready to make the world better today?" Her voice cracked. "Why do you always say that?" The bus fell silent. He looked at her in the mirror, then slowly turned around. "I used to drive your mom to school years ago," he said quietly. "She was just like you, kind, thoughtful, always reading something. Every morning, she'd step off this bus and say, 'I'm going to make the world better today,' every single day." Emily blinked. She said if she ever had kids, she'd tell them the same thing, he added. "When I saw you the first day, I just felt like maybe someone needed to keep that promise alive." She didn't speak, but her tears did. She walked to her seat, dropped her bag, and wiped her face with her sleeve. She cried the whole ride to school, and for the first time, it wasn't because of the pain. It was because someone remembered her mom the way she did.